Lisa's new album concept is the cringiest thing I've seen in a long time, and I've been in K-pop for a very long time.
Oh, you've heard of me? Good. I'm Vixie, the one they love to call the villain. My lashes came to slay, so step out my way. My nails cut deeper than your excuses. I'm busy living in my villain era. Let the haters hate. So
I listened to Lisa's Alter Ego album and I'm still sticking to what I said initially. I feel like she hasn't really found her sound. I think that a lot of the songs that I was hearing, right, reminded me of what I already heard here. There's nothing really new, and it's so interesting because, and okay, I don't know if it's because we put a lot of high hopes and props to her, and that's why the expectations were a little higher, but the album just wasn't hitting as I would have liked.
Previously on K-Express.
Lisa's upcoming Coachella performance has the potential to be a career-defining moment, a chance to bring all the elements of her alter ego concept into one cohesive and unforgettable experience. Lisa can use this stage in the same way, not just to perform, but to clarify and amplify her artistic vision. As a natural performer, Lisa has the presence, energy, and stage command to make this an era-defining moment. If executed well, Coachella could be the moment where her alter ego concept finally clicks for audiences, tying together the music, visuals, and storytelling in a way that feels immersive and intentional. The key would be in structuring the performance to highlight the 5 personas through distinct styling, staging, and transitions. This would allow her to show rather than tell, eliminating any confusion about the branding of her album while reinforcing her identity as a multidimensional solo artist. Lisa is undeniably hardworking, passionate, and resilient. Those qualities alone set her apart as an artist, with the potential to continue growing and evolving. Her solo journey is still in its early stages, and Coachella offers a perfect opportunity for her to push forward, reshape perceptions, and prove why she belongs on the global stage.
Lisa 8 was like one of the best Coachellas I've seen. Like,
Y'all, I just finished watching the Lisa Coachella performance for 2025. Listen here. I love Alter Ego. I love the album. But when you hear it live, with the live instrumentation, you hear the guitars, you hear the drums, you see her performing on stage, you see the transition. It is like nothing else I've ever seen. Listen, if you had Alter Ego as one of your top, it goes further with the Coachella. Listen, she had the big transition. She had all kinds of outfits. She was popping, locking, and dropping. Everything about it was great.
Hearing her perform this live allowed me to appreciate the album, if that makes sense. Because before then, I wasn't really feeling the album. I think her album is the kind of album where you literally have to see her perform it. It's the kind of album where you can't really listen to it. Not everyone, but some people. You can't really listen to it and appreciate it as much as when she performs it and everything comes to life. I can see the vision, the visual, all that. And Lisa's a damn performer. Like, I saw the Coachella live stream that YouTube was posting, and I was like, she did her big one, and I was never...
What Lisa's branding should have been. In my last video about Blackpink's solo branding, a lot of you brought up something interesting in the comments: how branding, or the lack of it, dramatically shaped how each member's solo album was received. Some even said, "This is all superficial." And you know what? I laughed, because, yes, that's the point. You're underestimating how deeply branding affects everything. It's not just a little cherry on top. It's the plate the entire meal is served on. We like to believe we're objective, that we're engaging with art purely based on talent or creativity. But branding is the invisible hand-guiding perception. It's the reason people happily spend $3,000 on a Louis Vuitton bag when you could find something structurally similar at a department store. It's why a smoothie at Erewhon feels fancy, or like an act of wellness, while the exact same ingredients blended at home feel sad. It's why Trader Joe's is quirky and fun, and Aldi is, well, just Aldi, even though they sell a lot of the same products. It's also why people romanticize shopping at Target, but treat Walmart like a last resort, despite the fact that the two often carry the exact same items, sometimes from the same suppliers. Branding is storytelling. It's psychology. It's how you make something feel special, even when it might not be. And yes, it's absolutely why Jennie's solo was seen as refined and iconic, while Lisa's solo, though equally solid musically, wasn't given the same grace. I liked both albums. Genuinely, I'm not someone who claims to have pitch-perfect ears or conservatory training or some music connoisseur, but I have functioning taste buds, and I know when something's good. Both Jenny and Lisa gave us different flavors, and I appreciated both. But the difference in how they were received? That wasn't just about the music. That was about the brand. And this isn't just some theory I pulled from thin air. This is something I've watched play out over and over again. Most people aren't consciously thinking, oh, the strategic branding here is weak, therefore, I shall disengage. They just feel something is off. And that feeling is often branding doing, or not doing, its job. When Lisa released Rockstar and New Woman, the praise was rolling in. People said she was dynamic, bold, finally stepping into her own. People were suddenly saying she'd always been the passionate one, the hard-working member who gave her all in every performance, every concert, every stage. But then, the branding started to unravel, and I think it started happening around the time she released the descriptions for her alter egos. The story wasn't cohesive. The visual identity wasn't solid. The messaging was inconsistent. And slowly, the language people used to talk about her work started to shift. Not because she suddenly lost talent, but because the presentation stopped holding up under scrutiny. And yes, it matters. Even the best work in the world can be overlooked if it isn't presented well. This is why I say if Lisa had launched with a cohesive, intentional brand, one that clearly communicated who she is, what her music stands for, and where she fits in the wider narrative, her solo work would have been received very differently. Again, I'm not saying it would have magically become Album of the Year, but I am saying it wouldn't have been as quickly dismissed. Branding doesn't replace substance, but it's what gets people to notice the substance in the first place. Presentation affects perception, and perception affects opportunity. Perception is part of the product, and in Lisa's case, the product isn't just the music, it's the narrative built around it. Her visuals, interviews, style, and values all contribute to how she's perceived. A strong brand doesn't just present an image, it curates perception. Because branding is not just what you do, it's what people believe about what you do. If Lisa is the product, then her brand is the story she tells. Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan, and the 10-year overnight success. Now, if you're still on the fence about how much branding matters, how it shapes careers, reception, and even perceived talent, let's talk about two artists who've recently become household names, Sabrina Carpenter and Chappell Roan. Both of them? Not new, not even a little bit. They've each been in the music industry for the better part of a decade. They've been releasing music, performing, building catalogs, all of it. But it wasn't until recently that the hype finally caught up to the work. Why? Because the branding finally locked into place. Take Sabrina Carpenter. She's always been talented, strong voice, clever lyrics, solid pop instincts. But now, she's everywhere. She opened for Taylor Swift, she's charting, going viral left and right, and her short and sweet era has been a full-blown cultural moment. Why? Because she finally has a brand that speaks. It's cheeky but polished, a little retro, very knowing, and above all, it's cohesive. The lyrics, the visuals, the stage presence, they all orbit the same identity. She's no longer just that girl from the Disney pipeline. She's Sabrina Carpenter, and the branding is finally as loud as the talent. And then there's Chappell Roan, a powerhouse vocalist with theatrical flair and unapologetic queerness. She's been releasing music since at least 2017. But her rise didn't catch fire until she leaned fully into a bold, campy, glam rock drag pop persona. Everything from her costumes to her makeup to her live performances screams, "This is who I am, and this is the world I'm building. Come in or get out of the way." It wasn't that the talent appeared out of thin air. It's that people finally had a story and image to connect it to. That's the power of branding. It frames the art. It gives people something to latch on to root for, to imitate, to become obsessed with. Branding doesn't just sell the product, it sells the why. Why this artist? Why now? When that part is unclear, even great work gets lost in the shuffle. And here's the part that might sting a little. Most of the people dominating the charts or red carpets right now, They're not necessarily the most talented in the world. They're talented, yes, but they're not the best. There's probably a girl named Brianna somewhere in Connecticut who can outsing Sabrina Carpenter with one nostril plugged and a sore throat. She wants to be a singer. She has the voice. She's been grinding. But she's not on the cover of Rolling Stone, not because she's not good enough, but because she doesn't have the brand, the resources, or the platform. And look, I'm not saying branding is the only reason some people make it and others don't. We all know that access, privilege, timing, networking, and sheer dumb luck play huge roles. But branding is one of the few variables that artists can actually control, and when it's neglected, it shows. You can be brilliant, but if people don't know how to place you, package you, or talk about you, your brilliance can remain invisible. We like to believe that talent always gets noticed, but in reality, it only goes as far as the packaging that introduces it. If people aren't drawn to what they see, they might never stick around long enough to hear what you can actually do. Lately, there's been this odd take that Lisa doesn't deserve her recent opportunities, like performing at the Oscars or being cast in The White Lotus, is all thanks to her alleged billionaire boyfriend. Let's be for real. Lisa is one of the most globally recognized Thai celebrities, if not the most. If you're casting for global impact or planning a high-profile event, of course you'd consider Lisa. That's not favoritism, that's math. Yes, connections help. But let's not act like she wouldn't already be standing at those doors on her own. The better question is, why did it take this long for those doors to even crack open for her? Or for any non-Western global artist? K-pop fans have gotten so used to the genre being underestimated that they sometimes internalize the hierarchy, treating Western approval as the final stamp of legitimacy. And that's the real problem, because when someone like Lisa, or BTS, starts succeeding without playing by Hollywood's rules, suddenly it's too much. That's not representation. That's gatekeeping in designer packaging. Would I advise Lisa to take every opportunity that lands on her desk? Some choices need strategy. But let's be clear. These opportunities aren't undeserved. They're just finally catching up to the scale of her influence. Let's talk about the weird double standard around Lisa's persona. There's this tired critique that Lisa raps about money and confidence, has a larger-than-life persona, but then comes off sweet and soft-spoken in interviews, and that the two don't match. She can't be a rapper if she acts like that. What do you mean by that? Lisa has had a few awkward moments, sure, but a lot of that comes down to cultural nuance. What reads as cute or expressive in Korea doesn't always land the same way in the West. Add to that her still developing grasp of English and a likely out-of-touch team, and some tone deafness is inevitable. What's strange to me is how people frame their critique. Too often, it leans into subtle dog whistles about authenticity and performance that reveal more about how people view rap, and by extension, the artists who dominate it, Black people, than it does about Lisa. Megan Thee Stallion can bring stadiums to their knees with her confidence, and then be goofy, soft-spoken, and nerdy in interviews. Cardi B can be wild and a devoted mom. This critique isn't really about Lisa, it's about you. If your understanding of rap can't accommodate multidimensionality, then you don't understand rap. And if your critique of Lisa boils down to, she raps, but she's too soft in interviews, maybe ask yourself why that bothers you so much. And let's be clear, Lisa's not even trying to be a serious rapper. Her sound leans pop hip-hop, a la Doja Cat. She's not coming for Kendrick's crown. She's crafting something fun, high energy, and stylish. You don't have to love it, but at least critique what's actually there. I'm not a branding exec, just a girl with a fixation. Before we dive into Lisa's branding, let me clarify. I'm not a marketing exec, just a girl obsessed with branding, PR, and strategy. After ranting about this for days, my sister finally said, "Why don't you just make a branding strategy for her?" And honestly, great idea, especially since some of you already started doing that in the comments under my last video. So here we are. A lot of what I'm about to say builds on that previous video. I won't repeat everything, but I will reference it throughout. so if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Links in the description. Quick recap. People keep saying Lisa's alter ego concept has no brand identity. I disagree. I argued she does have a strong artistic vision. The problem is the execution. The concept itself? Genuinely clever. Western pop has a long tradition of alter egos. Beyoncé had Sasha Fierce. Gaga had Joe Calderone. Eminem had Slim Shady. Done right, they add depth, mystery, and versatility. I think Lisa was reaching for something similar, a visual and musical embodiment of duality, masculine and feminine, soft and strong, sweet and sharp, a full spectrum of self. But somewhere between vision and rollout, it fell apart. So, what should Lisa's branding have looked like if it were built to last? Let's get into it. Before the rebrand, what Lisa already had going for her. Before we talk about what should have happened with Lisa's branding, let's acknowledge what was already working, because she wasn't starting from scratch. If anything, she had one of the strongest foundations of any K-pop soloist in recent memory. Lisa is global by design. Thai-born, Korean-trained, fluent in multiple languages, she naturally bridges cultures. That's not just versatility, it's elasticity. She stretches across borders without breaking character. And her Southeast Asian fanbase, especially in Thailand, isn't just a stat. It's a cultural anchor. A smart nod to Thai aesthetics or mythology, done tastefully, could have deepened that connection instead of glossing over it. She also lives in duality. Sweet, goofy, soft-spoken in interviews, then fierce and untouchable on stage. That emotional contrast isn't a flaw, it's her superpower. It's what an alter ego should highlight. Movement between modes, not conflict between them. And visually, Lisa already had a brand. YG positioned her as sharp, luxe, magnetic. The cool one. Lalisa and Money weren't subtle about it. She exuded rich, bad B energy before the solo era even began. In my opinion, Lisa is the true black of Blackpink. People say that about Jennie, and I get it. She is the group's duality in many ways. But Jennie is red. Lisa is black. Sleek. Commanding. Cool, not cold. She doesn't blend the spectrum. She is the tension between the ends. Yes, Lisa has her playful pink side too. That's what makes the alter ego concept so fitting. It gave her room to explore all of it. The sweet, the savage, and the in-between. But at her core, Lisa is black. Not by race, obviously, but in energy, presence, and the sheer gravity she brings to a stage. She had the story, the reach, the visuals, the duality. What she needed was someone to shape it into mythology, something you feel, not just something you read in a brand deck. The dancer dilemma, when talent becomes a trap. Lisa's branding problem wasn't talent. It was over-reliance on one talent. She was boxed in as the dancer, and while she is one of the best performers of her generation, even brilliance becomes limiting when it's the only thing people see. A brand that flattens an artist into a single trait, no matter how dazzling, will eventually wear thin. This isn't to say she doesn't have room to grow. If Lisa wants to compete on a global scale, especially with Western artists, she will need to strengthen skills like her vocals and stage command beyond choreography. But her brand shouldn't be anchored to what she lacks. It should be built around what she already owns: performance, presence, and style. Even Beyoncé, one of the greatest performers alive, faced this same trap early in her solo career. People expected her to be everything all the time, and anything short of transcendent was treated as failure. Her brand only broke free once it centered legacy, control, and storytelling, not just movement. Gaga is known for reinvention, Sabrina Carpenter for wit and coquette charm, Chappell Roan for theatrical emotionalism. These women can sing and dance well, but their brands go beyond that. That's what gives them staying power. And no one has mastered this better than Rihanna. She hasn't released an album in years, yet she remains culturally dominant. Why? Because her brand was never just about music. It's about fashion, beauty, business, and presence. Rihanna doesn't need to outsing or outdance anyone. She just has to exist as Rihanna. That's power. Meanwhile, Lisa's brand relies too heavily on aura, coolness, precision, dominance. But without emotional texture, cool starts to feel cold. She needs a solo identity that gives her dimension, a brand that allows for softness, mystery, humor, growth. And this isn't to say Blackpink got everyone else's branding perfect either. Jennie and Rosé's personas are still evolving, and I'd argue both could benefit from more expansion, but they're afforded more leniency. Jennie's it girl mystique gives her room to have off days without her whole identity collapsing. Rosé's emotional artist persona creates a consistent space for introspection and connection. Their branding protects them. Lisa doesn't have that same cushion. Her branding revolves around performance, so when she delivers an excellent stage, it's often taken for granted because it's expected. And when she falters, the criticism is swift and unforgiving. Her highs don't get celebrated the same way, and her lows get weaponized. When you brand someone solely by output, especially a high-impact one like dance, you leave no room for fluctuation or humanity. You create an impossible standard. And when she's not hitting 100%, she's called lazy, distant, washed. That's not critique, that's branding failure. Lisa deserves a brand that assumes her talent, not one that makes her constantly re-audition for respect. She shouldn't have to deliver a diary entry ballad or dance like her life depends on it to be taken seriously. What she needs is a brand that can hold all of her: the global icon, the stage monster, the fashion force, the private person. Because at the end of the day, Lisa is more than what people have allowed her to be. Solution: Lisa, the global architect. Lisa's fans often call her the global it girl, and honestly, they're not wrong. She's multilingual, multicultural, and one of the most recognizable faces in K-pop worldwide. She's also called an ace. She can sing, dance, rap, act, model, perform, and hold her own in any room, in any country. But titles like that need more than fan love. They need intentional brand storytelling. Being the global it girl isn't just about being seen everywhere. It's about owning space everywhere, not just existing in the world, but shaping it. And Lisa has everything she needs to pull that off. What's missing is the narrative, one that threads through her visuals, music, and rollouts with purpose. Take her song, Lifestyle. The lyrics practically begged for a bold visual campaign. From LA to Bangkok. We turning up in Abu Dhabi. No, 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 I did it on my own. That was the moment. That was the blueprint. She could have leaned into a campaign that celebrated global movement, fashion, freedom, and power. Imagine vignettes of Lisa in airport lounges, on rooftops in Milan, lost in a Bangkok night market, commanding a boardroom in Seoul, strutting through Paris in Mugler. It didn't need to be high budget, just intentional, curated, her. It would have been more powerful if the video transitioned from Lisa to other women living similar lives. This would shift the narrative from her bragging about money or luxury to showing that the song is a self-insert anthem for women. Her music then becomes aspirational and even a form of manifestation. Another way to build the lifestyle narrative long-term would be to frame Lisa as the ultimate jet-setter. Alter Ego already circles around this theme. Songs like Elastigirl, Rockstar, and Lifestyle show her love for dance, cars, and movement. Her brand should lean into that. Lisa as the woman who moves through the world with ambition and style. This would open doors not just for music visuals, but for future ventures. Think curated travel essentials like a luggage line, beauty kits for life on the go, sleek fashion collaborations. Quick YouTube vlogs or TikTok series could bring it to life. Short clips of her traveling, performing, working. It doesn't have to be overproduced, just curated enough to cement the image. A global force, always in motion, always evolving. One reason Alter Ego felt distant to some listeners is that it leaned heavily into luxury without offering moments of relatability to balance it out. In Western pop, Flaunting works best when grounded in vulnerability or hustle. A single song about the journey behind the lifestyle, the work, the grit, the struggle, could have changed the album's entire reception. That duality makes the glamour feel earned. Megan Thee Stallion is a great example of this. She can rap about wealth and luxury and still bring audiences along for the emotional ride. Lisa's storytelling could benefit from the same contrast. It's not about being less fabulous, it's about showing what it took to get there. It would turn lifestyle from just a song title into an identity and invite her fans to live it with her. That version of Lisa? She's not just a dancer, she's a high-fashion girly with business instincts, a traveler, trendsetter, and cultural bridge. She doesn't just perform, she moves through the world on her own terms. And that "I did it on my own" line? That wasn't just a flex, it was an opportunity. Even her recent White Lotus casting proved this. The response was overwhelmingly positive, not just from fans, but from general audiences. That performance tapped into another facet of her artistry that deserves to be nurtured: acting. This is something that should absolutely be part of her long-term branding. Let her be seen as a global creative, not just a global performer. A woman whose talent expands across disciplines and whose presence makes sense in any genre, any medium, any space. Lisa has often faced doubts about whether she truly earned her place, or whispers that she only cares about money, parties, and luxury. So what if she leaned into it, but flipped the narrative, owned the glow-up, but reframed it as a story of self-made success? She could have turned lifestyle into an anthem, not just for herself, but for women building bold lives on their own terms. Imagine a campaign: Lisa spotlighting female entrepreneurs, dancers, artists, fashion students around the world. Women creating their own lifestyles. No shortcuts, just grit, style, and self-definition. That's how you make Global It Girl mean something. Not just someone walking red carpets, but a woman shaping culture across time zones. A brand that says, she built this, she owns this. Now picture this: a TikTok trend where fans, especially women, post their own lifestyle edits. Clocking in at work, studying, traveling, doing skincare in hotel mirrors. Caption: working hard, playing harder. My lifestyle. A flex wrapped in empowerment. Lisa, the global architect of her own life. And the quiet invitation? You can be too. The color dilemma: too many shades, not enough unity. Solved. In my last video, I mentioned Lisa's color dilemma. Too many shades, too little cohesion. Some pushed back, saying assigning a color can be limiting. And sure, it can be. But used well, color isn't confinement. It's communication. It defines eras, signals transitions, and makes artists memorable. You don't have to stick to one color forever. You don't have to stick with one color your whole career, unless you want to. Just look at Olivia Rodrigo. Early on, she was heavily associated with purple. It was in her visuals, her album art, even her red carpet choices. But now, she's shifting toward reds, deep burgundies, and richer tones. She hasn't said, "Hey guys, new era." But if you've been paying attention, you already know. It's a visual cue that something's changing. In contrast, Beyoncé? Always honey blonde hair, yellow and gold, iconography, not just aesthetics. Color, when used with intention, becomes part of the artist's mythology. Lisa, however, had no clear visual language. Her solo era bounced from silver to neon green to pastel pink to fire engine red. Even if her concept was alter egos, the palette didn't clarify. It confused. There was no through line, no emotional anchor, just vibes, not vision. So here's how I'd reimagine her branding using color as character. We start with Sun Lisa. This is the warm, bubbly, effortlessly sweet Lisa, the version we see in interviews, in behind-the-scenes videos, when she's giggling with puppies or flashing peace signs for no reason. She's not trying to be charming, she just is. Her colors? Gold, yellow, and white. Not just because they're visually gorgeous, but because they mean something. Gold is everywhere in Thai culture: temples, art, jewelry. It's sacred, royal, and radiant. Plus, yellow is actually Lisa's favorite color. So this is gold as an evolved, mature version of that, so there's the personal touch as well. And white? It keeps it grounded. This version of Lisa believes in the good. She's not naive, she's generous. She doesn't sugarcoat things, she sweetens them. Sun Lisa is the lover girl archetype without the aesthetic overdose. She's kind, grounded. Next, we move to Moon Lisa, the performer, the stage icon. This is the Lisa we've all seen mid-performance, when the camera zooms in and she stares it down like she invented choreography. She's sharp, precise, magnetic, and she knows it. Her palette is silver and black. Silver is reflective, cool, slippery in the best way. Black is grounding, chic, and just the right amount of intimidating. Together, they say, "I came to dominate." This version of Lisa feels androgynous in a high-fashion way. Think slick hair, metallic tailoring, bold silhouettes. There's elegance here, but it's the kind that walks in and says nothing because it doesn't have to. This is Lisa as the moon, luminous when she wants to be, hiding when she doesn't. And then we arrive at Eclipse Lisa, the part that nobody expects, but everybody remembers. Eclipse Lisa is what happens when the sun and moon collide. She's the moment between mysterious, emotional, experimental. Her color? Crimson. This is the version of Lisa that doesn't perform vulnerability, but chooses to reveal it. Carefully, strategically, and only when it matters. And that's because Eclipse Lisa isn't just one of the egos. She's Lisa herself, the quiet core behind the spectacle, the enigma who chooses when to be seen and how. She's not the loudest, she's the most intentional, and that's what makes her unforgettable. Lisa's palette, gold, silver, crimson, wouldn't limit her. It would give her structure, a framework that allows evolution without confusion, one that lets her move from sun to moon to eclipse and still feel like her. Color, when used right, tells you who someone is before they say a word. And Lisa, she deserves a story told in bold, intentional strokes, not 5 clashing Pinterest boards. Let the colors do the talking. And if you're new here, subscribe for more takes on K-pop, branding, commentary, and everything in between.